Wow, that's all I gotta say. This offseason has been very fun to watch, and this final OTA has been no different. A lot of things are changing for the Philadelphia Eagles. We may have a new starting linebacker. Wide receiver I have been talking about for a while finally gets his flowers from the organization, and our quarterback has been a little bit up and down. I want to go through all the notes that I have from the final OTA, and there will be even more in-depth videos available on our now open Patreon. So let's talk about it.
You want Philly food?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
What's going on, you guys? It's your boy Joe Castro, aka Philly Fresco, and it is Philly the podcast. So today I want to go through all of my camp notes, all of the OTA notes that I have for the final day, and I want to give you some of my opinions on there. Now, before we get into that, be sure to hit that like, hit that subscribe, join the family. We are on the road to 10K. Please hit that like and subscribe and join the ride to it, man. We're having a lot of fun, and I think you guys will as well. Now, let's hop right into it. So I did say that there's going to be a Patreon. So today in this video, I'm going to go over my notes. I'm not going to go through all of them. Now, if you want to watch the full video, probably going to be a long video of me talking about these OTAs and what I think, head on over to the Patreon. That video will be up tonight for Patreon members, and there is a 7-day free trial. So if you guys want to just, test the waters, feel free to. But let's hop right into some of these notes. I want to start with the wide receivers. Nick Sirianni was asked about these guys in the OTAs and if anybody was really sticking out to him, and he said he had no problem, singling out one person, and he says that Quez Watkins has done a phenomenal job this offseason. Now, I don't know, maybe I'm kind of forgetting. I'm not the youngest spring chicken anymore, so maybe I'm, losing my mind and my memory a little bit, but I do remember someone, a certain content creator, saying that this offseason a lot of people were telling him that Quez Watkins was looking very good and that he went crazy this. I could be wilding here, but either way, it's very good to hear Nick Sirianni give him those flowers. Olamide Zaccheaus, he didn't have the greatest of days today. He did all right. I mean, he won a couple battles, didn't necessarily get the ball thrown to him every single time he was out there, but when it was thrown to him, he didn't necessarily make the play. We'll get into that, but Quez Watkins looked really good today. He has been looking really good today. Also, Devontae Smith, man. Devontae Smith looked really, really good today. Josh Tolentino actually put him as one of his camp standouts today. He had the lone touchdown for Jalen Hurts. He got the touchdown over Josh Joby. And that's another thing we're going to touch on is the secondary. But I am very, very excited about this wide receiver position. And that kind of leads me to this next part where a lot of people were talking about DeAndre Hopkins and I was one of them, and the possibility of him coming to Philadelphia. I've said this before. I'll say it again. If you want to go ahead and get DeAndre Hopkins, I am never going to tell you no. I'll tell you that right now. But when asked, Nick Sirianni said that he said twofold. There was two things that he really said, and I think that it's important to hear both of them. So the first part was that he feels very comfortable with his group. He feels very confident in his wide receiver room and doesn't feel that there needs to be a shakeup. But he also said that Howie Roseman is a type of guy, and we can all attest to this, that is always going to look for upgrades, and you never know. That last part was an exact quote. You never know what he's going to do. So, look, I think that there's always the possibility that the Philadelphia Eagles find some crazy deal and they're like, I can't say no to this. Let's go ahead and get DeAndre Hopkins. But it sounds like this team feels comfortable with who they have at the wide receiver position. So you guys let me know down in the comments, how do you feel about this wide receiver group? Now, I do want to also talk about this secondary. Josh Joby and Greedy Williams were your cornerback 1 and 2, with James Bradbury and Darius Slay not being at practice. They did well. They held their own. Josh Joby in particular held his own. Obviously did give up, I believe, the touchdown to Devontae Smith, but at the end of the day, they did well. They weren't, getting exposed. I'll say that much. They weren't getting consistently exposed. It was a rough day for Jalen Hurts. Now, also, Terrell Edmonds and Reed Blankenship were your starting safeties, and Terrell Edmonds is a guy that actually, another one of Josh Tolentino's star standouts that he felt he stood out in this last day of training camp. So, or OTA, I should say. So he seems like he's doing well. Reed Blankenship, he has been consistently very, very good. It sounds like he has I said this last video too, it feels like he has a stronghold on one of those starting spots, and it sounds like Terrell Edmunds is making his claim for that other one. We'll wait to see what happens with Sidney Brown. Didn't hear his name much in this practice. Not sure if he was there, so we'll look into that and we'll talk more about that. But I wanted to go over them. I also wanted to say one last thing about the cornerbacks, and if you want to go more in depth into the cornerbacks, that will be on my Patreon video, so definitely check that out. But the last thing I wanted to say was Mekhi Gardner. We talked about Olamide Zaccheaus not having the best of training camps, or at least day today, right? I don't want to say that it was a consistent thing, but Mekhi Gardner, the rookie, he actually picked him off. So there was 3 interceptions, if I'm counting correctly. It was 3 interceptions off of Jalen Hurts, 1 to Reed Blankenship, 1 to Mekhi Gardner, and 1 more. I can't remember the last person. Let me know in the comments, because I know I'm forgetting 1 more person. But either way, it looks like these cornerbacks and safeties are holding their own, doing what they got to do to get where they got to go, and we'll definitely be seeing more and more of that situation, especially with guys like Budda Baker out there and other guys that can definitely come in here and be a solidified starter for us at the safety spot. So again, you guys let me know how you feel about the secondary. How do you feel more specifically the safeties? I mean, it was nice to see that Josh Jobe and Greedy Williams are kind of the first in line up after, you know, James Bradbury and Darius Slay, but it will be very, very interesting to see what happens at that safety spot. So down below, let me know who you think are going to be the top 2 safeties on this roster. Now, lastly, I want to go over the linebackers. Again, I'm not going to go too in depth. If you want to see more in depth, go on over to the Patreon page. But what I wanted to talk about is Christian Ellis, man. Christian Ellis is a guy that after the first open OTA, a lot of people were talking about him in the reporting world. A lot of media were talking about how this kid was really just kind of showing out. He now has another interception and another, you know, and this one was just crazy. Apparently he just read the play, he jumped the route and was able to pick off Jalen Hurts, and they were saying that it was a pick 6, that he also got a pick 6 in this OTA. So he's just been eating. He's just been going crazy. I had conflicting reports. One person said it was Ian Book. One person said it was Jalen Hurts. So I didn't want to give it to Jalen Hurts if I'm not 100% sure. So, you know, I don't know if he had both of them off of Jalen or if one was off Ian Book. Either way, he has been going crazy in these OTAs and making a name for himself. He was given first team reps today with Nakobe Dean, and he proved to really deserve it. I mean, it looked like he really earned it. Now, he did kind of get tossed up. He did kind of get, you know, shaken a little bit by Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith was able to, you know, beat him on a drag, and I believe also a zig route on, you know, short little intermediate route. So maybe Christian Ellis isn't a guy you want to have covering a top 10 wide receiver, but at the end of the day, he has definitely held his own. And one guy I wanted to bring up, I'm sorry, I want to kind of backtrack a little bit, is I want to go back to the secondary, because there was one guy that held his own against Devontae Smith, and is Josh Jobe. I know that I gave Josh Jobe the you know, credit for the touchdown, unfortunately, but I wanted to go back and just kind of fix that real quick, because he did hold his own, and most of the time on the few routes that he was up against Devontae Smith, he used his physicality. He had active hands against Devontae Smith, and that helped him kind of knock him off his route a little bit, and it wasn't just, you know, all fires go against Josh Jobe. He held his own, and I wanted to remember that because I wanted to say that. But look, these guys have been looking really good at linebacker. Nakobe Dean has obviously gotten that green dot. Didn't say if he got it taken away today. I would assume he still has it. Doesn't sound like, you know, he's giving up that anytime soon. So Nakobe Dean has done everything, in my opinion, that we wanted him to do this offseason. There hasn't been any slips, in my opinion. There hasn't been any what's going on. Is he going to start? We know he's going to be that guy, and I'm excited to see what he's going to be able to do. Now, I wanted to get off all this, you know, information about OTAs, and like I said, I will be going even more in depth into the guys. So you guys let me know what you're thinking about this first or this last OTA. Now we wait. Now it's just a waiting game, you know? So what do you guys think? How are you guys feeling going into this season? But yeah, other than that, y'all know what it is, man. If you guys enjoyed the content, hit that like, hit that subscribe. But other than that, it's Fly Goes Fly. And we are out here. Peace.
Eagles fans everywhere, this is for you.
Fly was flying on the team. Touchdown, touchdown. Time to get Jalen this ring.
You don't really wanna start a thing. This a Bird Gang Nation, baby. It's a Philly thing. Hater, and you looking like you type trash. I'm just here calling with Philly the podcast. And we can call a man dog or watch Miles score off the handoff. Rest of the division, your man saw Jackson like Sean, hunting like Randall. Season here, early time to do him in. Your boy Philly Fresco. Thanks for tuning in.